Good morning, Suzanne Joy.
Good morning, Deborah Leanne.
Shall we tune in? I had a thought. We had a new subscriber this week, and I don't know where people find us or how they tune in to us, but I wanted to just do a little introduction about why we do this and that we tune in weekly, A, because we like each other and we like to spend time together, and B, because there's so much shifting. I mean, we could do it every day. Astrologically, culturally, strategically, systemically, um, within our own physical systems and energy systems. And and we use the gene keys. I do most primarily. You play in a lot of other dimensions with human design and so forth, but we kind of like to weave it all together into what's going on in this day and time and how can we apply, oh, I don't know, some of the tools that we've gained throughout the years. um, and just a little background, we didn't plan this, but we're both wearing St. Louis t-shirts today, and
Giving some love to the STL.
which is where we originally, were connected and became, really, really close sister friends. So I would love for you to take on this pulse because it at some points is feels very heavy, and at other points it's really exciting and expansive. And I, me, I kind of slide off into the shadow land a little bit. Feeling, I think that's what we tend to do. We feel, even if we're not sucked into it all, we get sucked in by the air we're breathing, the cars we're driving next to on the highway, the people in the grocery store. So take it on, Suzanne.
All right. So we're dancing in this week, Gene Key 35. And this is written by Richard Rudd. And we're going to be talking about the different states of consciousness within this band of this sphere of energy. And that happens, just so you understand, it's much like the it stays with us for like 6 days and then it rotates. So it's the wheel. And this happens every year, right? So this is a cycle that typically happens. And think of it as a symphony. And it's related to the I Ching as well as astrology. And it's also connected to human design. But Gene Keys is another beautiful expansion of that wisdom that is talking about the shadow state, the stuff that we get mucked and mired in, but out of this beautiful human that we get to move through. And then out of that comes the gift, and also recognizing our divinity, because that's who we essentially are. Right. And this is our embodiment of that space. But just to kind of get some background and understanding a little bit about, the humanness of it. But really, I think in this timeline, we are moving from a space of very physical humanness into recognizing our divinity in action in our bodies.
Yeah.
So as the shadow of this key, it's called hunger. And the gift of this key is adventure. And the Siddhic state, or the highest essence, is boundlessness. So I will kind of riff on that. When I was tuning in this morning to the hunger, it really replicates in our body when we have disappointment and then blame, and then disappointment and then blame. And so there's this cycle that happens within us. If we're, wanting something and you're hungry for it, and then you get this disappointment, and then you blame somebody that it didn't happen, or it was the weather or whatever. And you stay in that cyclical pattern of shadow. But we here have a choice of how we react to life instead of having us break that energy out and like spread it amongst everyone else. This is our space and time to alchemize that energy, become aware of it, and drive it back inside and go, all right, what do you want to do with this energy? Is it useful? How can I create something new out of it?
Yeah, that at choice piece is we forget that we are also creating, and life is creating, co-creating with us, but we have a choice on how we respond. And then our energy, because we have mirror transmitters and our neural, connection, that energy that we feel by being around somebody, we are responsible for what energy we're putting out. So
Yeah,
are we gonna mirror that hunger stuff back just because we're around somebody who's experiencing that? Or how do
right.
we, and I love this, using the shadow as fuel,
Yeah.
as a way of, okay, I get to choose, because the other side of that is,
Adventure.
my God, wouldn't you choose adventure any day?
I
Like, be
know.
more
One would,
creative, and instead of, oh, well, that didn't happen, so life sucks.
right.
How can we
Well,
go, what's the adventure here?
right. Well, and it's very interesting that this particular key ties in with Gene Key 5, which is all on timelessness. So you can imagine in the shadow state, hunger and impatience kind of go hand in hand, right? So it it actually pulls you away from your own rhythm of life because you're having some set expectation of what you need to do at a certain age or whatever the story might be, wrapping around in your head. Um, but as you follow your own rhythm of life and be patient and gentle and allow the flow to move through you, a whole new world is ready to open up.
And I'd like to point out that for those of us planning people, you don't plan adventures. Because immediately my brain goes to, well, but how is it? I mean, am I going to have the right tools? Or am I going to know how to be with, And I'm just like, you remind me, thank you so much, dear Suzanne. You remind me that sometimes you just get in the car and go, where am I going today? What am I going to do today? How's this going to be? Versus I'm setting the GPS, I'm going here and I'm going this way. And I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. So this is such a different rewiring for me. And it also sets you up to be less disappointed because you're not expecting it to. See, I think the expectation goes into this too.
Well, and this is how I view expectation. I have expectancy because I believe my divine team and me and God has a bigger plan for me. So all I get to do, I get to show up. So there's the expectancy that something magical and beautiful, and this is the wormholes and miracles, key. Of course, it's going to show up and it's going to be beautiful because that's what's intended. That's what's our God given ability. However, we can't get mired in the mental aspect of what it is to look like because we have
Yeah.
no
And
idea.
And do you remember all those years of, visioning that what we want this to look like and what
Right.
it's gonna, I mean, now I focus so much more on what will that feel like? What
Right.
will it taste like? What will my body feel like in that space? What will my energy feel like in that space? That is so much more fun for me to imagine than it is to have a clear picture, unless that picture evokes that energy within you. Be careful that you don't have it like I should have been very clear when I said years ago that I wanted to have a house on water. Well, I have a house on water on a very small river called St. Francis River. But I mean, it's not the ocean. So maybe next time I want to say I want to hear the ocean waves crashing outside my window. That might be a little bit more clear. Anyway, go back. I'm sorry, I
No,
interrupted.
that's good.
But
But it's really it's when we're devoid of like that mental gyration and we're dropping back into the heart space.
yeah,
And
and can you
so,
tell me a little bit about, is there a reactive and I mean, like, are there,
oh yeah, the
I think of
react
hunger, we think we put hunger into our minds with food, and there's a lot of other things that we hunger for, love, connection.
right. I'm going to just read this. It's this the repressed is all about boredom. So there is that deep hunger within us that's thrusting us back into that unconsciousness of we don't even know why we're bored, but
Uh,
we get bored. Do you remember as a kid? Well, like, I want something to do because I'm so bored. Okay, it's okay to be bored.
those
But
summer days that seemed like they'd last forever. Do you remember those days, laying out there looking at the clouds going, oh my gosh, I have a whole summer of this. Now I'm like, dang.
but in that state, you know, it's kind of you're lifeless. Like there's nothing is lighting you up. And so you're it's just
Yeah.
and then the reactive is manic. And so they're too busy to be bored. They're
Because
flitting
they
all
didn't
over.
slow down enough to have the space.
They are so scared about their lives being empty that they continually fill it up with lots of activities.
Oh, I've been there.
So, how can we? And too, I think when you're in that manic state, you can't hear your own signal. You can't hear
Yeah. You
your,
can't let life come through because you're so busy trying to direct the fear or the anxiety or whatever it is within you. Yeah, I
yeah.
know that one really well. Um, yeah, and then so adventure feels like such a better choice. So I can see how the gift and the shadow play together because they're really the same thing, just reframed or um, viewed a different way or felt a different way, embodied a different way. What does the city, how do we play in that playground?
Of boundlessness. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it
So
bounteousness? Boundlessness.
boundlessness. So
Does that mean like no boundary? What does that mean?
mm, the quote is all individuals, families, racial groups, and gene pools are caught up within this master plan that appear to have its own hidden agenda. And this is all about moving out of your mind and back into your heart, as I mentioned before. And so this is when we're expanding our consciousness so that we leave the sphere of evolution altogether.
Ah, because there's no,
Boundlessness is consciousness,
okay,
and consciousness is unlimited.
okay,
So consciousness equals love. And of course, love has no beginning and no ending.
got it.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think of it as an adjective, like boundless energy. Like you have just, you know, like ever filling like a waterfall, like it never ends. Um, I love that.
Pure unconditional love can break all the laws of the cosmos. And that's where anything is possible. And
Okay.
it's a great place to play when we want to move into spaciousness and realizing the divinity is working through us. And we don't have to know the answers. This isn't a mental exercise. This is a drop back into the heart, and we're listening to that, and we're moving where we feel called to move. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a trust thing too. For I just know that when I've experienced this, and you take on the adventure of life, and you're like, I have no idea where this is going, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
I'm going to continue to show up and see what happens.
Yeah.
Mudra.
So, more and more as we embody these energies, there's little tools and things that can help us get there. And I noticed this morning when I was doing my exercise class online that, I didn't want to follow her directions necessarily. She was like telling us what to do with our arms, and I'm dancing. And I just thought, I don't have to follow these rules. But anyway, what I was noticing is our feet, which I know is the tied to the key of stability, and our hands are tied to the key of creativity. So I'm playing within all of these different star pearl keys right now, and so this just feels ah. How can I have more boundlessness in my creativity? How can I have more boundlessness in my energy field? How can I have more boundlessness in my flow of love coming in and going out, like all my interconnected relationships? So just dropping in and allowing this to be breathed into, and let the mudra align your energy. Don't cross your legs, Deborah. Allow it all to move up and down through you. Creates more boundless energy. How about that?
Yeah.
How would you like to close with us today, Miss Suzanne?
I am not exactly sure. Um, it's about experience.
Yeah.
So I would suggest, how can we find the gifts in the present moment this week, and be open to receiving without a set expectation?
Oh, like
And
just to have the adventure of seeing what happens.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So
I'm in.
let's cheers to that. And
Mm.
then if you do have this kind of adventure, please comment in the comment below. We want to hear about what beautiful, juicy experience you had.
Oh, that'd be awesome. So yeah, keep your eyes open, and have the, like you said earlier, the expectancy and trust that there's so much beauty awaiting us if we would just open our eyes, our hands, our time, our energy field. Ah, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Many blessings.
Yep. See you on the other side.